In general, English, or Greco-Roman English, is the master language of the world today. The other two, of course, are the Devanagari from India, which exists in a variety of forms for all of those languages in India, although the lingua franca of nearly every province of India is English, imposed upon them by the British civil servants, which I might just... My wife didn't want me to make this remark, but I think I should. I was in a little seminar with some people down at the university who thought that I ought to be brought into a meeting because they had a linguist from Oxford in town, and we were talking about languages and spelling and that sort of thing. This was in the early 60s. And this chap finally says, "Oh, I have no patience with you. You don't realize the utility of a badly spelled language." And I said, what's your rationale? He says, "Well, it's so difficult to learn English. This is the way we separate the sheep from the goats. The people who would make good civil servants and who have good memories and are healthy, they can learn to read English. They will tolerate the inconsistencies. And this gives us a fine base for picking administrators and government officials." And I said, "What about the rest of the people?" "Well, they're people. They eat." And that was the end of the discussion with an Oxford linguist about changing the spelling of our language. Mary thinks that was a little bit nasty, and maybe she's right, but I was quite impressed by this because we are doing the same damn thing in the United States with an underclass which cannot and will not learn to read and write English as she is badly writ. And that's the rationale for my continuing to work on this project that I've made for myself and a few friends of changing the spelling of English. Now, the history of English I've covered, but how did these 26 letters get where they are, and what are we doing with what we call Unifon? Let's take a look first of Unifon just for a moment, and then we will look at the history of these three great branches of alphabetized languages in the world. Before I go that far, though, let me say one other thing. There was no way that you could easily change the mechanisms for setting type when we had linotypes or other machines. You had to fix the number of letters and live with it. Or if you had type cases, you had to have that set of type and no others. That's all changed with the computer. All changed. We no longer use type. Type is a thing of the past. It's all in digital form in each computer, in software. For the first time, it is possible not only to change the spelling and the mechanisms for spelling, and the little Macintosh computers now provide me with Unifon spelling of unwritten Indian languages in the West and Northern California. But we will be able to scan all these books in this library and 5,000 or 6,000 other books that have been printed and convert them to Unifon, perhaps in a year or two. The scanners can convert the type as she is written into a digital commonality of binary bits, and from that you can generate Unifon. But this is the first time, this year 2000 is the first time where all of the parts are there by which we may not only change the past, but rewrite the future so that 100% of our public can learn to read and write. And how many hours? It takes maybe 18 to 20 hours to teach a child to read in Unifon. It takes him over 1,000 hours of work to get to the same level of 8,000 or 9,000 words in English as it is presently written. That's an enormous advantage. 50 times more time it takes to read and write now over what it could take. So that's the enticing part of this story.